Attention, we'll go ahead and continue our driver media availabilities advance of Sunday's Hellman's 500. We're joined now by the driver of the number 24 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet, Chase Elliott. Chase, welcome. You know better than anyone else what's on the line in Sunday's race. Talk a little bit about your team's approach going into this weekend.
Yeah, I think for us, we're obviously disappointed the way the past 2 weeks have gone, having such strong cars over the past 2 weeks and having the ability to go and contend with some of those guys. Obviously, to end like it was disappointing, but for us, it puts us in a pretty simplistic situation for this weekend and having to have a really, really good run, if not have to win. So it's like I said, it's a simple position that we're in, and we're up for the challenge and looking forward to Sunday.
We'll open it up for questions for Chase. We'll start right here with Tom, and then we'll go to Jordan.
Hi, Chase. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Are you more discouraged by your bad luck the last couple weeks, or more encouraged by the fact that your cars have been fast from the start of the chase all the way through?
To be honest, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, disappointed by the outcome the past couple weekends. I think anybody would be and should be. But the biggest piece of it, and I think, is the encouragement of how we've been running. I've been impressed with how our teams come together, how we've stepped up our game as an organization when it came time to start the chase. I think that says a lot about our group and our team for not quitting and getting to where we need to be and keep fighting for that right direction. So to be honest with you, yes, I'm disappointed. Yes, it's a bummer. I hate it. You hate to have things go like they have, but I think I'm more encouraged by the way we've been running, and that at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, because I would personally rather have to deal with certain situations or go through some hard times running well, when you've been running well, than to be running decent and just get lucky and squeak your way through. I'd rather fight through whatever kind of issues you got to have if you're running well to make it through.
Excellent. We'll go to Jordan, and then we'll go over here to Matt.
Jordan Bianchi, SBNation.com. Hey, Chase. When Jimmy won after Charlotte, he kind of talked about how coming into Talladega, he's got nothing to race for, essentially. He's in the next round. And then he's going to basically try to help you out and act as your wingman. Have you guys had those discussions of how the 24 and the 48 team are going to work together on Sunday? And as a driver, obviously there's only so much you can do, but what does all entail?
Well, I think, the biggest thing we look at is it's great to have teammates, especially when you come to the plate tracks. And we've seen groups or teams work together in the past to try to help a guy have a good run, or help an organization to have a good run as a whole. We've had some small conversations, but we're going to go into more detail, I feel like, later on this weekend. Probably sit down and try to get a better idea how we want to proceed forward. But I think the biggest thing, to answer your question, is just to not hurt one another. At the end of the day, you can be in situations, and it can be hard to help somebody, so to speak, but there's some times where you can hurt them a lot easier. So I think just trying to avoid the hurt side of that, and just be as helpful as you can be without getting yourself in trouble.
Let's go back here to Matt, and then we'll come back up to Dustin.
Matt Weaver, AutoWeek.com. Jordan had my question, but I would ask you something else too. Should you be able to pull this win out and you're able to advance in this next round of the chase, you've been really good. You've had the bad luck, but do you feel like, if you can just get past Talladega, you've got a chance to go out there, get that next win, build momentum for next year, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% think if we can advance through this weekend, I without a doubt feel like we can be a contender. I mean, I think if you don't feel that way, you need to go home. So I definitely feel that way. I think we've been running well enough the past couple weeks to be a contender. Obviously we haven't had the finishes to show it, but I feel like the way we've been clicking, the pit road, practice, the race, I feel like all that stuff has been going in the right direction. So I definitely think that we can, we could be one of those guys if we can make it through this weekend. So, and a lot of it, you got to have things go your way for sure. We've seen this over the past couple of years with this format, and me sitting at home watching as a fan, you gotta be good, but you gotta have some things go your way sometimes, and you also just have to make it happen some days. So that's just kind of how this deal works.
We'll come up front to Dustin, and Bob, and Claire.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Chase, you were one of the few cars that technically was listed as not being involved in an incident here in May with all the incidents. I guess one is how did you avoid that? And two, in some of those incidences in May, it looked like it was from cars pushing and shoving each other. What is that like? How hard is that? How much did you almost lose control at times with cars hitting or you hitting cars? Because that seemed to be a key factor in some of those instances.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I wish I knew how we made it through the first race without having any issues. And we had a really strong car sat on the pole here, which was great. We we've had really fast speedway cars throughout the year, as you know the 24 team has over the past couple years. So, that being said, I'd like to say we had a certain strategy to make it through that race. We just really didn't, and there were times where we tried to be up front. There were times we got shuffled out. We ended up in the back, and we were just really lucky to get around the wrecks as we did. So, but it's definitely difficult. I feel like a lot of the mayhem that went on in that first race, and I'm sure I'll be proven wrong this weekend, but I think a lot of it was we were fighting that weather that weekend, and that rain was coming in, and I think we were all pretty antsy because we felt like that rain could be there here any time. We were past halfway. I think all that, to me, the entire race looked like the last 20 laps of a typical weekend. It was that way about the whole day, and I feel like the intensity was high, throughout the entirety of the race as we ran. So I feel like a lot of it had to do with that. To me, it didn't have the same feel as the Daytona 500 did or the 4th of July Daytona race did. So I think some of it was that. I could be proven wrong. This is obviously a big race for a lot of guys, and lots on the line for a lot of us. But I think at the same time, I think that weather had a big factor. But I don't really know a good way to make it through. You can't go anywhere in a hurry in these cars and in these packs these days. So I think a lot of it is important, to try to methodically put yourself in the right positions at the right times throughout the race and make your moves when you can, because it gets to a point and it's hard to move forward in a hurry, and that can become an issue.
Let's go up front to Bob, then we'll go to Claire, Reed, and we'll finish up in the back.
Chase, do you feel like the way you ran here back in May and having won the Xfinity race at Daytona in February gives other drivers confidence to work with you on Sunday?
I hope. I feel like, the biggest thing, you want to be reliable, I feel like, in that standpoint. But guys know when a guy has a fast car at these places, and if you can be, as I say, if you can be that guy when you're in the draft, if you can be that guy that can make a lane go forward or be a good pusher or have the ability to push a lane when a lane is having a hard time moving forward, I feel like guys notice that more than anything. So I think a lot of it is kind of how your car is driving, how fast it is, and what its ability to do in the draft is. And people take note of that. They see it very quickly, and you'll see it in practice. I think a lot of it, if you're running along in practice and you're a guy that can push a lane forward, I think people recognize that, and that's going to make them want to work with you more. But you also want to try to do your job and try to be reliable and not do anything too stupid.
We'll go up front here to Claire Lang.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I talked to your spotter, Eddie DeHunt, on air last night, and he told me that what he likes about you is that when you're in the car and you're communicating with him, it's all about the racing. There's never any drama. It's never about the driver in the car with the drama, and therefore he can focus more on the racing. Is that something, and that's especially important to Talladega, that comes to you naturally, or is that something that you work at?
I don't know. I just try not to pay attention to the stuff that doesn't matter, and sometimes complaining about certain things just doesn't get you anywhere. So, my dad spotted for me a lot when I was short track racing, and I think some of that kind of comes from my time talking to the radio with him and kind of his personality and how our personalities are. There's no need to talk about some stuff while you're racing. We're here to race, and we're here to focus on the things that are important. And as you run along throughout a weekend, obviously you want to keep it light when there's times to have it that way, but definitely keeping your eye on what matters and just not worrying so much about stuff that doesn't, I feel like, is the biggest thing.
We'll go over here to Reed Spencer.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Did you guys diagnose the problem from last week, figure out what caused the tire rub, and was your issue the same as Casey's?
Yeah, to be honest with you, we've kind of come to the conclusion that it was just a freak incident. The best we can figure out. We haven't been doing anything different over the past number of weeks that would cause it. So, you know, we did identify that it happened when I was getting up on the racetrack off the exit of turn 2. That's a pretty abrupt banking change, and we're hitting it pretty hard, you know, under green flag conditions. So, you know, you hit it hard throughout the weekend, and it was weird that, you know, you don't have that stuff happen. But as those fenders heat up and get warm, you know, throughout a day, they can flex and bend easier. So, you know, I hit the banking with the left or the right side, obviously first, and the left rear when it compressed. It just folded the fender up under the tire, and then once the car traveled down in the corner, it obviously cut it. So the best we can figure out was our incident to Casey's was the same thing, but we hadn't done anything different over the past number of weeks. So it was just an unfortunate situation for us.
We're going to come over here to your left to Tom.
Tom Menino, WVTM 13 in Birmingham. With the unpredictability of this track, were you in favor of the swapping of the order in the chase, moving Talladega around?
You know, I don't know. I mean, the way this deal is, and with any type of point situation, you kind of control your own destiny in a lot of ways. And, you know, if you're in a position where you're counting on that last race to get yourself through, well, you know, we didn't do something right in the first 2 is the way I see it. So, you know, you have the opportunity to advance before you get here, and even if this race is changed around to where this isn't the last race, you have an opportunity to advance before or after it. So I don't know, it's the same for everybody, and I just have a hard time complaining about that when I've had 2 opportunities to make my way through, and as a team, you know, we've had 2 chances to do that. So, you know, we've had the same opportunity the other 12 guys or however many are left to make it, and we're in a position where we haven't. So we got to bite the bullet and deal with our circumstances as they come.
We'll finish up over here on the right.
Chase, there's a term called, I guess, racing luck. It's kind of a catch-all for things that are out of a driver's control. As you've gone through your first season here, how much have you found that to be a factor in the season, and especially at a place like this?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's, you know, there's obviously some things you can't control. There's a lot of things you can control. I've learned over the years racing. I mean, I think a lot of your preparation, a lot of the things that the performance that you have at the racetrack, to me, starts long before you ever get here. And I think that's the most important side of it, is just trying to control the things that you can control. And the stuff that's out of your hands, it's out of your hands. And to worry or let that bother you to a point where you can't stand it, that there's just no need in that. So, I mean, you got to have things go your way, certainly, but I think there's a lot of stuff that you can control before you get here. And, you know, we've had some unfortunate circumstances over the past couple weeks, some of it kind of self-inflicted. So you got to look at that and recognize, hey, how can we fix it? How can we avoid that moving forward? And how can we continue to get better and progress as a race team? So a lot of guys say they'd rather be lucky than good. I'd rather be good any day than lucky. And, you know, I think if you're good, you can try to work your way through some things and deal with it as they come. But, you know, to me, the biggest piece of it is just trying to maintain and control the things that you can before you show up on every weekend, and obviously throughout the race as well. But it's just part of it some days.
Chase, good luck this weekend. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys.